Hi, and welcome to this week's issue of Crosshairs, the show at ThePrint where we discuss the big regional and national security issue of the week. Once again, we've been witnessing extraordinary events in Pakistan with former Prime Minister Imran Khan, apparently defying court orders and battling mobs of his supporters, battling police outside his home in Zaman Park. Finally, the former Prime Minister appeared in court on Saturday. And we're going to be looking forward a little bit and looking at what this might mean for Pakistan going forward. I'm joined today by Murtaza Solangi, a distinguished journalist and editor from Pakistan, and Dr. Ayesha Siddiqa, author and columnist with ThePrint. Murtaza, I'll go to you first. Would it be fair to say that in spite of Imran showing up in the court, the sheer demonstration of muscle power we saw in Zaman Park, the apparent fanaticism of his followers, all this bodes very ill for a government already on its knees economically and otherwise?
More than the government, it bodes terrible for the state of Pakistan, because a former prime minister resisting arrest, using his political workers to attack police, lob petrol bombs, stoning the police and the paramilitary rangers, that's unprecedented. So in terms of the political culture, it sends a terrible signal to everybody and creates a precedence where tomorrow any political leader, any mafia boss, any influential, any big shot would bring in few hundred people to resist arrest and defy court orders.
Dr. Ayesha, do you agree with Murtaza that there's something especially appalling about a prime minister resisting arrest, or is this just become the stuff of Pakistani politics? I note that you had pointed out that even with the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan protests by the TLP, the state had eventually done a deal with protesters who had attacked and injured a police officer.
This is the first time that this has happened, that a politician has resisted the state in such a manner. I mean, earlier on, from Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who was the first popularly elected prime minister, and he was eventually sentenced to death by hanging. Even he didn't resist the state like this. At no point did he provoke his supporters to come out and fight the state. From Nawaz Sharif to Shahid Khaqan Abbasi to Yusuf Raza Gilani, every single prime minister who has ever been interned has given themselves up. Now, this one is trying to do his politics differently. So, it's completely different. He's resisting and the state, but in a way challenging the state like nobody else. He's become more like TLP than a political party.
So I'm going to come back to that in a second. But Murtaza, I'm very curious. Why is he gone to these extraordinary lengths to resist arrest? Is he trying to make a political point, saying that, look, you might be the government, but there's nothing you can do. I have the people with me. Or is there some underlying legal agenda as well?
Publicly, Imran Khan has been saying this, and so have his supporters and leaders, that he is resisting arrest because he is really afraid that he will be killed or poisoned in custody. Knowing the state of Pakistan and knowing the political history of Pakistan, I can say it with almost certainty that the state of Pakistan, the coercive apparatus, the government, they will be out of their minds to kill him in custody, because the cost of killing him in state custody is just too big. So it's impossible. What my sources are telling me, that he's afraid of two things. Number one, that his DNA sample would be collected, because once you are in state government custody, you have to go through a medical exam. And during that process, they will collect his DNA. That can be matched with some cases. He's afraid of being implicated at some point. Number two, he is also afraid of some tests which may reveal the type of drugs he has been using. And that would be politically very explosive and counterproductive for Mr. Khan. That's what I'm told.
Okay, even assuming that's true, though, I mean, presumably, whatever any tests or DNA stuff shows, he's going to turn around eventually, Ayesha, and say, this is a conspiracy against me. This is stuff a malign government has manufactured to defame me, which he's been saying all along. The real question, it seems to me, is why is the state so unable to deal with this man's appeal? After all, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who had massive popularity, was hanged. Those protests were contained. Other prime ministers, as you mentioned, have been jailed and the fallout contained. What is different about Imran Khan? Why is the state having to retreat and back down?
Let me step back a bit. I mean, being a student of politics and Pakistani politics, I'll be less kind of confident and certain as my friend Murtaza Solangi is, and say that definitively, there is no threat to his life ever. I mean, whoever thought that they're going to kill Benazir Bhutto, and they did. So states can and especially agencies of state which are less accountable, less transparent, can take decisions and at a spur of a moment, and they can get agitated and react. So I'd be less confident here. The threat is there. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that they're about to go and kill him, but if there is a fear, there is a fear. Now, why is the state doing what it's doing? I think what they're doing is basically trying to exhaust him. He is somebody who has raised the bar in terms of how he's conducting his politics. I mean, he's not doing it the traditional way. I mean, who could have thought of 200 to 300 people gathered around his house in Lahore, protecting him? Who could have thought that a prime minister would get tribal militias to protect himself against a state whom he wants to represent in politics? So, this is all anew. Now, what they're probably trying to do is challenge him, push him, exhaust him. Because there is also this realization that Imran Khan or PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, is essentially a one-man party. You take Imran Khan away, you exhaust him, you push him back, you'd probably be able to get the PTI to cow down. I mean, let's face it, nobody else can replace him. No, not Shah Mahmood Qureshi, no Asad Omar. There's no other leader worth his while or worth his salt in the PTI. So it's a battle of wits that's being played out. Now, he's also playing it. I think the important thing is that he's also playing for higher stakes. I mean, Murtaza may have his reasons, may have his information, on what can be proven against Imran Khan, which is why he's fearing to, and all of that may be true. But I think it's also that in the process, he's raising the bar of his own politics. he's making people more skeptical. Now, let's suppose that tomorrow he's in jail, results come that, he is, in the case of, Sita White's daughter, Tyrion, that he is actually the father. Is it going to impress the vote bank? The answer is no. 62, Article 62, 63, Sadiq and Amin, honest and, this case of honesty of a parliamentarian and a prime minister, he may get disqualified. But, and this is perhaps the purpose of the state as well, to find a way to disqualify him. But even with that disqualification, it doesn't solve the problem of Pakistani politics.
So, Murtaza, here's my question: why is Imran Khan being targeted in this Toshakhana case, where he's alleged to have received gifts as prime minister and then sold them off? After all, we've seen earlier this week lists emerge that many past prime ministers of Pakistan, bureaucrats, even a journalist or two, General Musharraf, all these people also did the same thing. So what special sin has Imran Khan committed?
The special thing about Imran Khan is that no ruler, no bureaucrat before Imran Khan used these state gifts as a business. He collected them and sold them and, made money, and did not declare that money in his wealth statements for 2 years. So it's a case of misdeclaration, number one. Number two, he violated the rules of Toshakhana, where you could only retain them. You couldn't buy and sell them. Number three, instead of getting those gifts assessed and paying that value, many of those expensive gifts were taken straight to the market. He sold them and he paid peanuts afterwards. That's again a crime.
Now, hold on. Surely the earlier prime ministers who took a bulletproof BMW or a prime minister who took a bulletproof Mercedes, they didn't pay market value for these things. What is the bad thing here?
Nobody says about the market value. It was already declared in the rules that you would pay 20% of the assessed value. In Imran Khan's case, another special thing is that he changed the rules that now the people would be paying 50% of the value. But after making these rules, he still made the payment for 20%. So he violated his own rules. He did not retain them, he sold them. And when he made some money, and that goes in millions, he did not declare in his wealth statement. So on multiple levels, he committed a crime.
So, Dr. Ayesha, going on with that, crime issue, one of the odder things here is that you had a prime minister disqualified, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, on the grounds that he did not meet the Pakistani constitution's requirement of being Sadiq and Amin, essentially a pious, a decent person, worthy of high constitutional office. We don't have a similar provision.
He was disqualified for life for not declaring 20,000 dirhams that he could have collected from his son's business where he was employed, which he did not receive, but it was receivable. So using Black Law Dictionary, he was disqualified for life.
Sure. And one of the things critics of Imran Khan have long said was that the military and the political establishment ganged up to disqualify Nawaz Sharif. Ayesha, Siddiqa, is Pakistani politics lurching into vendetta politics, where every prime minister who comes around will declare the last one corrupt, not Sadiq and Amin? What does this mean for the future of Pakistani politics if politicians don't play the game?
See, in some ways, I am kind of happy what's happening, because it's like thrashing out, drawing clear lines. So I'm happy on that. He did break rules, and he should have abided by those rules. Now, but going back to what earlier, Mr. Solangi said, I don't think that Toshakhana itself is a landmine, because people have this assessed value is anybody could have assessed that value. It's not market value of a product. So prime ministers have, look at Shahid Khaqan Abbasi, his sons, himself, they've taken expensive wristwatches, Rolex watches, much more expensive watches, and a price assessed, and they pay 20% of it. So it's a landmine. I'm not going to even go there. I agree with what Murtaza said, that Imran has further kind of broken rules here. But I think where I get worried then is that, are we going to have tightened controls of anti-corruption? Are we going to make sure that our prime ministers, future prime ministers, follow some principles? The answer is no, because those systems are still very vague. National Accountability Bureau, which is supposed to be the primary watchdog, corruption watchdog organization, is as lifeless as possible. So this is really, it comes down to then, if you can get hold of somebody, if you can actually slap some charges and you can prove it. And I'm sure in this case, even if he goes to the court tomorrow, if he presents himself, they indict him, a case starts, it's not going to be end of his political life or end of his political career.
So looking forward, Murtaza, what on this political trajectory from here on, you had the Supreme Court of Pakistan saying elections should be held in 2 provinces. The government didn't seem very happy about doing this. What happens next with that? And what is your assessment as a journalist on the ground about which way the wind will blow in those 2 provinces? Also, do we expect to see a general election held to find a way out of this deadlock? Or is that something that's not on the agenda?
Well, I don't see elections taking place as scheduled in April in Punjab and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in May. After the schedule of elections is announced, it becomes the property of Election Commission of Pakistan. According to Pakistani law, only Election Commission has that authority to postpone or hold them on time. The way it looks, conditions are emerging where these elections will be postponed. And if there is a consensus at the national level, including PTI, then maybe before the scheduled elections in October or, around that time. But I don't see any possibility of elections announced. At the same time, it's becoming more and more clear to me that Imran Khan will not only be disqualified, but he will serve a jail term, and that would start a process of dismantling of PTI in many groups before the next elections.
Do you share that assessment, Ayesha, or are you somewhat less certain that this is the end of Imran Khan?
Well, before next elections, this is a bit too early for this kind of a breakup. I think that for a while they'll manage, but if disqualification or what is for sure is that the state and its establishment does not want Imran Khan back into power. Now, if that's the conclusion, or and I agree with this conclusion, then in that case, there are 2 other ways to get rid of him. One is, that one other way, in fact, to get rid of him, and that's to threaten his life. So if that's not happening, then disqualification is certainly one way forward to get him out of the scene. Now, I would be very careful with this disqualification scene. I mean, I don't think that the existing political parties will naturally benefit from this. Uh, he has a support base, and it's going to lead to greater frustration. Uh, what we've had historically, we've also seen that when supporters are frustrated, they don't turn out, to vote. So there'll be a lesser turnout, which means that it will make the results much more questionable. And I do not see PMLN itself benefiting from this kind of politics.
So, Murtaza, a final question, and I'll take this same question to Dr. Ayesha as well. Looking at this from the outside, it seems to be a very peculiar situation where essentially people who oppose Imran Khan, liberal Pakistanis, are appealing to the establishment to use extraordinary powers to kick him out of the fray rather than pushing for an election to democratically settle the dispute. Are we headed to a perverse situation where liberals are finally having to ask the army to save Pakistani liberalism and democracy from Imran Khan?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Well, liberals and progressives, quote unquote, are divided. So is the polity of Pakistan. There are some who do not consider Imran Khan a democrat. His emergence and his 4-year rule was more of an autocrat and a fascist. That's why liberals are afraid of his rise to power again, especially that a section of the establishment and retired military officers are still supporting him. So they see it as a threat for future. That's why they are opposing him. But there are people who have traditionally been anti-establishment, and they are happy that Imran Khan is finally taking on them. So they are supporting him.
Dr. Ayesha, is this...
Very. I just tempted to kind of come in. This division between liberals who support him because they think that he's anti-democracy. I think we have a group of liberals who have their own interests. I mean, let's not forget that every single party, we've had a strong man at top. I mean, why forget when Mia Nawaz Sharif wanted to become the Amirul Momineen and kind of completely change the constitutional and political arrangement. So this one also has this, Imran Khan also has this crazy idea that he's the one who can bring change. So there are liberals who are scared of this fascism, and there are liberals whose interests are tied with traditional parties. So that's where the division is.
Murtaza, since this raises an interesting question, do you believe this will be an issue in the final analysis, which is settled electorally? Or do you see any prospect of a descent into chaos where eventually the army finds itself in a position or compelled to intervene again and reset the game?
In the near term, I don't see possibility of direct military rule in Pakistan. And that's because of the economic meltdown, the extreme polarization, and the loss of face of the establishment, coupled with other elements like rise of insurgency and terrorism at the same time. So this is not a conducive environment, especially with the new Cold War, US-Europe against China. It does not suit the conditions to, take over as it has been in our history. So I think political instability will continue, but somehow elections will be held, and not so strong government. I would believe another hung parliament and a weak political government will be, will take over after next elections.
And a final question for you, Dr. Ayesha. You're in London, you've been watching Pakistani politics very closely. Do you see Mian Nawaz Sharif fighting or leading his party in that next election?
Well, for that, he has to return to Pakistan. He doesn't intend to return. I mean, not until elections are announced. That is sufficient damage. As far as, military and its reputation is concerned, I think military is continuing to play the game by the same rules that it used to. I mean, it just got itself 45,000 acres of land, which is bigger than the area of Maldives. Doesn't indicate that it is changing its pace or changing its method of operations. So I don't think, and this conclusion that there's going to be a hung parliament, I think this is something that we had already kind of, we knew was going to happen. They would not let Imran get a 2/3 majority. They would not also like to see Nawaz Sharif have a 2/3 majority. And in any case, PMLN has lost a lot of ground even in Punjab. So 2/3 majority is not a possibility. I think the only way PMLN will recover is that if Mian Nawaz Sharif returns to Pakistan and fights back. That's the only chance that PMLN has to improve, its present political conditions.
Right. So thank you both very much for taking the time to speak to us. Murtaza, you wanted to add something?
Yes, sir. I just want to flip this scenario. Let's suppose if Imran gets his way and he's not disqualified and there are elections and he gets 2/3 majority, his trust level with the establishment is gone with the wind. This will not be the first time a politician comes to power with 2/3 majority. Nawaz Sharif has been there twice, in 97 and in 2013, and both times he was thrown out. So even if he gets to power, he will not be able to handle the economic meltdown and the crises Pakistan is facing.
Interesting. So
I just one very quick one. Sorry, just very quick.
Most certainly.
Sorry. I think that if they'd let him, have that his majority and make the government, that would be the final goodbye to Imran Khan. I think the horror that he is as a politician, the only way to get rid of him is let him try his hand on government. He was failing. Why are we forgetting that before he was when he was kicked out through the vote of no confidence, his graph was going down and going down steeply. This is the only way we can get rid of him, through elections.
And I concur.
So on that fantastic note of concurrence, having disagreed about everything else, I think we should agree that after the next elections in Pakistan, whenever they're held in 3 separate countries, we might be, but we should try to get together on a bet over the outcome and settle up for dinner in London, since Murtaza and I cannot easily visit each other in our countries. Absolutely tumultuous juncture in Pakistani politics, unprecedented events on the streets, and a very, very uncertain future, not just economically, but politically. All we can hope for is, Murtaza, Ayesha, that you are here to unpack events as they unfold and will join us again to make sense of this extraordinary and very fast changing terrain. Thank you so much for making the time to join us.